IGDC. Just to announce you this panel that we are going to have next, and I'm going to introduce a couple of our speakers shortly. But this panel is something which is going to be interesting one for sure. It's a little different. But let me first introduce and start with the panel members. I would like to call in Ranbeer from GodSpeed Games. Pranab from Xsolla. Vijay from Trophee. Namrata from ONDC. And Priya from Pay 3. So, just to get things started, let me ask a simple question to the audience members present here. How many of you are aware of the name of Mr. Beast or Carrie Minati? A quick show of hands would do. Oh wow, quite a lot. Nice. How many of you believe that these people are content creators and content powerhouses in and of themselves? And how many of you do feel that they are platforms in and of themselves? A quick show of hand on who feels that they are just content creators. Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, just one or two. Who all you feel they are content platforms? Awesome. I think our panel job is already done here half a bit. So it's going to be an interesting take on, how do you see and where the lines blur between content and platforms and how developers can benefit out of this equation. But let's start with the short round of introductions. I'm Saikat. I'm the Senior Vice President of Mergers and Acquisitions and Investments at Nazara Technologies. We are India's only publicly traded gaming and esports company, focusing on esports, ad tech, and of course games. We have a bunch of different IPs. Please, if you have not played any of our IPs, please do go ahead and enjoy some of our experiences that we have worked very hard on the background. Over to you, Pranab. Please maybe start with a short round.
Thanks, Saikat. Hi, everyone. My name is Pranab Punj. I am the strategic advisor for APAC region at Xsolla. Xsolla is a global video games commerce company. It offers a robust set of tools and solutions for game developers to go direct to consumer without any intermediaries in between and make more money. About me, I'm slightly old. I've spent over 2 decades in the gaming space, specifically in the India market. I was lucky to be a part of some pioneering moves in the Indian game space. The first game to come into India, which was targeted to Indians as consumers, was Ragnarok Online. I was lucky to be the marketing manager for Ragnarok Online. And then Zapak, some of you may be familiar with that brand name. I was a part of the founding, and I was a founding brand manager for that. And then, there have been places that I've been which have been the starting point of gaming in India in some way or the other. Like, I've done work for Cartoon Network, Pogo, Nickelodeon, taking them digital and in the gaming space. I've been an entrepreneur. I used to be a part of a media company, homegrown media company out of India. And now, I'm working for Xsolla, bringing this powerful Xsolla ecosystem to India, to the Indian game developers. Thanks. Sorry.
Awesome, thank you. Probably I won't say the word old for me, but yeah, I've been in the industry for more than 15 years. That might make me look old. So I'm Ranbeer. I'm the founder and managing director at GodSpeed Games. We are a game development studio based out of Pune. We do a lot of game services in terms of QA, porting, game development, end-to-end development across PC, mobile. Probably the only studio in India who works a lot on game consoles as well. Apart from that, we also have our own IPs that are running successfully on all the platforms. We have Battle Legions, one of the recognized IPs on iOS and Android stores. We have Smashing 4 as an IP. We have done some work on Nintendo Switch, Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang, Almighty, several different games on consoles as well. And it's been a learning experience over the years for us because we have seen the industry grow from nothing to something, and then towards the way it's moving, it might be everything very soon, right? So we have seen the industry grow, and we are very excited to be in this space, and this kind of events kind of bring us to we see that how the industry is evolving, and with so many different partners here, so many different students here, we are all probably gearing up to build this ecosystem, further, and hoping to have a good session with you guys, and engaging as well.
Vijay?
Awesome. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Vijay Singh, founder and CEO at Trophee. And we are the world's first immersive game commerce company. And we are shaping a very interesting and all-new category in the gaming space called game commerce. Basically, it is a seamless and non-intrusive intersection of online gaming and online shopping within a gameplay. So this particular vertical is emerging, and the topic of today's the panel is the same. So obviously, it's a good one. And I'm being associated with the gaming since last many years. Like my last venture is also into the game tech, where we build the in-game advertising technology that is being now acquired by an Australian advertising company. So now we are into a different mission of shaping up the gaming commerce and adding the value to the global brands, and helping the game developers to uplift their monetization and the key metrics. So I'm very excited about this space and how this is shaping up globally. Thank you.
Namrata?
Hi, everybody. I'm Namrata. I am here because I'm actually a storyteller who likes games. So I've been doing digital since 2004. I set up India's first movie marketing agency. So I built movie games in the year 2010 onwards. So I've worked with Zapak. So that's one of the things. And then I set up a comic book company called Division 91 out of India. The idea was that we are old, as they keep saying. I don't think so, but we were all like, okay, Stanley can do it, we can also do it. And that was the whole point. Idea is to use games, comics, imagination, characters to change how we look at any reality. And a lot of that came into fruition when I last worked with Sony as head of emerging tech and worked on creating 3D humans, meta-humans, immersive universes, etc. And currently I work with ONDC, which is Open Network for Digital Commerce. This is a digital public infrastructure. The idea is to enhance the ecosystem for gaming in India, to go beyond what is being done in gaming commerce in rest of the world, because DPI is very much an India play. So how do we use that to make sure that the 450 million gamers that we have, there is a completely different commerce ecosystem for them, sitting out of India itself. Yeah.
Sure. Hi, my name is Priya Karnik. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pay3. At Pay3, we provide global payment solutions for gaming companies. So we are a partner for all the gaming commerce discussions that's happening. With one low-code integration with us, we enable payments across 100+ countries. We go beyond cards to support microtransactions with popular local payment methods. So, for example, UPI in India or a Pix in Brazil, and now increasing interest in stablecoins as well. So, bottom line, we make in-game commerce and in-game payments very seamless. About me, again, in the same category, about 20 years of experience in financial services, both across banking and fintech. I've been with Citibank, where I started my career. I've held global business leadership roles, and subsequently joined Paytm in India. And after that, I began my entrepreneurial journey by setting up Dwara Money, which is a neobank for the urban Bharat. Before I started Pay3. I've also volunteered for digital public infrastructure. Yes, excited to be here. And, I'm sure Saikat is going to have a lot of interesting questions and discussions. Over to you, Saikat.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Let's start with the first question with Namrata, you. Just tell us why a developer needs to focus on games as a platform model, what it would do for them, and why they should look at it now.
Okay, so why not? I mean, why not? What else are you here for? Games, I'll give you a story. We are a country, how many of you have read this book called Gita? somebody has read this book called Gita. So I was sitting with somebody who essentially said, okay, I'm a book publisher. I sell this book called Gita. Can you immersify this book? We're like, okay, let's look at this. Let's create an immersive experience out of this book. And very simply, we said, okay, here is this Gita. It has 2 characters. It is based in this city. These characters eat this food. They wear these clothes. They get to go to these 5 places to visit. And they like to hang in, they like to watch movies. This is the commerce journey of a book in itself. Imagine the same thing in a gaming universe, right? If you are creating a game, within that, whatever the game character and the environment can enable from an offline experience or offline commerce experience, considering the fact that today there is no difference between online and offline and you can do O2O. It's an amazing world where the realities are converging. So the physical reality is converging with the digital reality of the gamer. Your imagination you can actually see in real life. You can give an avatar. So just like you give powers and avatars to your game characters, you can also give them purchase power, so to say. And if you do that, then that's real commerce that's happening. Somebody's life is actually getting impacted. Somebody's house actually gets run in a better way because you bought something from them. And they could be small artisans, they could be big companies, they could be big brands, doesn't matter. I think it's a great collaborative model to make sure that we all grow together. So yes, we should be looking at this in a very, very serious way.
Vijay, maybe what's your slightly different version of the same question? What are the potential benefits that you can see when a developer adopts this platform approach of developing the games that they could observe? And how are you thinking about enabling some of these developers to launch it?
Yeah, so very interesting. First of all, like in today's world, when we have 3.4 billion gamers, and in India alone, like we have 500 million plus gamers, obviously, like gaming is much more beyond just a mere source of entertainment, right? And for me, ecosystem, it's a lifestyle. And many of the reports have started saying also that the gaming is the new social media. So I think this is how the new age consumers are engaged, consume, and interact. And the game as a platform is very, very important in a way that it is not just limiting to the monetizing, right? It is creating an ecosystem that is adding the value not just to the game developers, but to the gamers and to the brands associated with that as well, right? So for me, like it's not a choice. So it is not a choice, but nowadays it's a necessity. I would say that for 2 main reasons. One is that treating the game as a platform and not just as a product will help in 2 ways. Number 1 is like uplifting the revenue, and number 2 is like uplifting the other key metrics like the engagement and so on. And let's say like the point number 1, that how it will uplift the revenue. So treating a game as a platform is opening up the multiple, like the possibilities of opening the multiple revenue streams, like beyond just a one-time, the purchase or the one-time the ad placement. It is like the game developer can, embed the game commerce, they can embed the UGC, they can embed the subscription, the battle passes, and much more, right? So it, by considering all these things will add multiple revenue sources to them. Now, the point number 2 is like how it will help to uplift the engagement or the other key metrics is in a way that when we are treating the game as a platform, then we are treating and creating an ecosystem. This ecosystem helps the gamers to stay connected and also to connect with the other gamers. And as I mentioned that now the new age consumers, that is the gamers, is also using the games to interact with the other the gamers and the ecosystem, because the game is not just limiting to playing the game, it is much more beyond that. Like now we are watching game, we are following the influencers, we have a competitive, the games and as an esports and so on. So for me, like it is very, very important to treat the game as a platform.
Thank you. I think that's very interesting. So we have covered the why bit, why it is essential now. Let's look at from a developer's lens. Ranbeer, I want your perspective on how some of these games can actually be converted into essentially a platform's businesses. I mean, any comments, any suggestions, or anything that you have done personally, or anything that you would be exploring in future would be something which will be helpful.
Yeah, sure. I think I'll probably touch base on what these guys also mentioned. The most important term that we have used is ecosystem, right? And in an ecosystem, everything falls together. And I'm here to talk about from a business perspective. For me, sustaining the business is also very important, right? The passion, yes, I'm in the industry for passion, but yeah, we also do business, right? And that's where all these things fall into one place, and then how we kind of generate more users, how we generate more players, how we generate more money, everything goes around that. So that's why that ecosystem altogether is very important. Now coming back to what all the things we can do or how we can implement these things in the game, or a new developer can do that. I think we talked about commerce and payments, right? And there are different ways which Vijay also mentioned, that there are battle passes, there are VIP passes you can do, there are third-party stores you can create. There are also in-game stores nowadays. Some of the games or some of the platforms are even promoting in-game stores as well. So you're not just playing the game, but during the gameplay itself, you are able to buy some things, which are outside of the gameplay, which are something that you kind of experience in the real time. So that's one most important category, which nowadays most of the games or most of the studios are working on and creating their own stores as well. They're creating their own in-game sections where you can purchase not just game items, but external goodies and other stuff as well. Similarly, I think we touched base UGC. I personally feel that's, and we have seen in the, probably with a lot of different studios as well, UGC is kind of very important in a way, because it kind of gives you that user engagement. And when you kind of, ask your users to create something then that you can use in the gameplay as well, they somehow feel connected to the game itself, right? And that's where the player base is, that's where the engagement is. Unless they feel motivated to play your game, unless they feel, oh wow, they are listening about me, whatever I'm creating, they're also implementing that. And we could top up this with rewards, if somebody creates something good, which you are kind of, in a way, monetizing in your game, why not reward them as well? So what that does is it will also encourage others as well to create more content. There are very big studios or publishers games where I've even seen mods, which are kind of a part of a game itself. So we are also, the publishers themselves are asking people to create mods and then promote those content, right? And it's now part of that ecosystem altogether. So UGC is also, I feel like it's a very important role that it plays in our whole overall games as a product ecosystem. Another segment which I think probably Pranab would also touch base on is web shops, or creating your own store for your own products. Especially when we talk about, it's been there for a while, I would say, on different platforms. But the way we are seeing the engagement, and it's something that we have been working with Xsolla. We have been fortunate to work with Xsolla on that, and we even created, I think probably from India, we were the first one to create a web shop for our own IP. And we are seeing the difference there, how we engaged with the community, how we are able to build a community there, and how we are able to serve, specific players, according to their taste, according to their choices, who is playing what, who is buying a particular category of rewards. So there are different preferences, there are different choices. Now we are able to offer that to individual players. So I think this, apart from this, we have, social interactions, community, if you can build a, let's say, in-game forum where people can chat, people can talk about game, people can talk about their experiences during the game, that also helps a lot. That also kind of, helps you in promoting the games to further levels as well. And then the, historical things are still working. I mean, discounts and coupons are always there. I mean, we have games on consoles as well, right? So whenever there are special events, that are global events happening, let's say New Year event, Diwali festival and everything, we offer discounts on our products and we see a huge jump in the sales at that time. So these things are kind of part of that whole ecosystem altogether. And events, when I mentioned, it's not just about this specific events as festivals, but even in-game events, right? Nowadays, in our game, we have special events for 1 week or 2 weeks. We run special events, which players can play, which players can engage in, and we kind of sell different specific items during those events itself. So those as well promote the engagement of the users, and it helps us in monetizing in a better way. and how we can actually serve better as well to those players, because they are coming there to have some good experience, not just just do some time pass or just play for a few hours and go back, but they are there to get themselves entertained, right? And it kind of helps us to analyze what their experiences are, and then we kind of improve and then provide them what they're looking for. So, I mean, it's part of part and parcel of the business nowadays. So,
Yeah, it's funny how things evolve so slowly that it's almost negligible when it comes to seeing the differences. But the interesting point you touched upon was the direct-to-consumer and web shops. I would turn my attention to Pranab and try to understand, what are some of the strategies that you have seen developers globally or maybe even in India have adopted to implement direct-to-consumer shops, web shops as a part of, seeing games as a platform businesses, and how much impact have they observed in their overall normal day-to-day business?
Thanks, Saikat, and thanks, Ranbeer, for your partnership and taking that first step. I think it's a very broad question and loaded question, but let me give you some impact points. As I said, Xsolla is a global video games commerce company, and just to give you a sense of scale, and maybe annually, Xsolla drives billions of dollars of revenue for game developers across the world. Right? And that's all direct to commerce revenue. This is new revenue. This is revenue outside of the current channels, as Ranbeer was talking about. And it's enhanced. It's on top of what you're already doing through your standard distribution channels. I think that's one aspect. But what I kind of see is, and as I said, I've spent time in the gaming industry. One thing I have felt is that what's different in gaming, especially at least up till now in India, as things are changing, and this panel indicates that, is that the developer is not in full control of their own content. Like, in the sense, they produce the content, they invest in the content, and then their access to the consumer is through an intermediary usually, and that access to the consumer through an intermediary is exactly the point you were raising. Is you're not a platform anymore. Just a piece of content. You're running through a black box which doesn't give you enough information about who your user is, what are they buying, why are they buying it, your interaction is very low. So what direct-to-consumer does, or direct-to-consumer as a philosophy or strategy does, is offers multiple ways to keep your players engaged beyond just a store. And now in the direct-to-consumer strategy, web shop becomes a very powerful tool. Ranbeer spoke about it. You should check out their web shop for sure. This is not only the first web shop from India, it's a unique example of a multi-game web shop. Spellwagon.com. You should check it out on your phones right now and you'll see how beautiful that is. And so web shop becomes that one part of the puzzle, right? And so what it creates is a direct destination for the consumer of your game to be able to consume and buy digital products in the environment that they want, in a trusted manner, right? But you don't have to stop there, right? And even Ranbeer will tell you maybe offline on multiple tools that they're using inside that web shop, right? So you can use game launchers, and you can use those game launchers as branded hubs where players can access updates, content, community events. We offer Xsolla Cloud Gaming now. That Xsolla Cloud Gaming can allow you to take that same game to players instantly, across devices without needing high-end, hardware. And this is again powered by Xsolla's payment systems for you to be able to even offer transactions. And then, finally, you can use subscription models, loyalty programs. I think direct to consumer is a way for you to create that very deep connect with your brand's consumer. And I'll speak brand now because I'm an ex-brand manager, right? The big thing for any company is to be able to create a direct connection with your brand's user, and which is what is lacking, and which is what I think direct-to-consumer solutions like what Xsolla offers is trying to offer you, right? Like a direct connection, not only to make more revenue, but have more deeper connection to your game's consumer.
I think quite interesting. Shifting gears a little from the solutions, wanted to focus more on the enabling ecosystem. So Priya, I would like to invite you to sort of speak on what role does a payment ecosystem provider play in enabling developers to create their own ecosystems?
Thanks, Saikat. Great question. So when I was in financial services, we saw the evolution of embedded finance, right? Where in any place where you have eyeballs, where you have user engagement, you embed finance. And that's exactly what's happening here, embedded commerce, right? Anyone working on the commerce will say how important payments it is for the ecosystem, because that's where real commerce begins. So from a payments perspective, I'm working with many companies. I've seen these are the 4 factors that we see from making in-game commerce very successful, right? Number 1 is the diversity of payment options that you provide for the user to make that purchase. That has to be local, it has to evolve. So even in India, we've seen from banking to UPI, wallets to UPI, and who knows next would be CBDC, right? So we are working with many companies around the world on stable coins, which is becoming popular. So diversity of payment options, including very, very local payment options for microtransactions. Number 2, and this is interesting because if you want your better success rates, and payment providers use risk modeling, whether to accept or fail a payment, or how to price the payment, and to determine whether it's fraud. Now, gaming commerce makes it interesting. It's no longer about, keeping everything as games and pricing them or modeling them in a certain way. Not only do you have to separate one game from another, from a type of game, but it's interesting how do you model a payment which is used for making a digital payment to buy the game's own assets vis-a-vis a third-party brand in your game commerce, or it could be subscription. Now these models have to evolve to support game commerce, right? The third is uniform user experience across platforms. I recently came across a survey how people would love to have across platforms the same experience. We all know that immersive experience across platforms. Now, what I found interesting in a study is even an additional 1.5 hours spent across a week. Some game is released that they have 50% additional spend from those users, right? And therefore, the payment experience also has to be uniform across platforms. The 4th piece that I would say is gaming, compared to any other industry, is global from day one. While you may launch in one country, eventually you're going to go global. And that leads to a lot of complexities, right? Right from localizing, how do you manage various compliance, whether it is digital sales, tax compliance, how do you structure entities for a global platform operations, cross-country payments, foreign exchange, and the list goes on. So like someone mentioned here, it's best to partner with someone who understands all these complexities, so the game and the game developers focus on creating that massive immersive gameplay which is going to bring them success and enable game commerce. We are working with a number of companies to take them global. We are very, very confident that many more companies from India will go global, and we can make a name in the global gaming world. That's my 2 bits here.
So Priya, staying on to that, and I want to extract some secrets out of you. You work with so many, game developers globally, and you have also enabled some of these, alternate solutions which restricted themselves to, coupons, vouchers, and the likes of them up until now, where game commerce, UGC, and other elements are sort of picking up. What have you seen the kind of uplift in revenues that a developer has traditionally observed in the past, just with the mere launch of a voucher? I just want to give a proper understanding that what would happen if commerce actually gets enabled.
So I told you Saikat is going to make this interesting discussion. Look, let me just take a broader view on this, right? There are many things that we have seen games to do to increase their revenue uplift, right from, as I mentioned, even localizing payments has increased success rates by 20 to 30%. That means more revenue to the game. Adding additional payment options like stable coins has given some 10 to 15% uplift, because now we have access to a community that spends, has a huge spending power. Coming to Saikat's questions on, we've seen a variety of these alternate revenue streams. Web shops you have covered in lot, and that's clearly a 10x improvement in margin and direct to consumer with a lot of data. And other things that we have seen is the loyalty program that gets created within the game. How do you make sure that the user then remains and spends that loyalty program within your game, right? So that not only consumes and gives an outlet for the loyalty program, but it also encourages additional spending. We've seen that 10 to 15% additional spending, because there's something priced for 400 rupees and you want to spend 500, 600 rupees, right? And yes, many more with subscription coupons, loyal programs. We've seen about, as high as 15 to, from 15 to 25%. And of course, a lot depends on how one implements the program, right? One element that is where we have seen very crucial to success is the design of that program and how responsive your feedback is to the program and how the program is working. So yes, so interesting, focused implementations. We have seen a very good revenue uplift for the games that we are working with.
Interesting. So essentially, we have shown that at least a 15 to 20% uplift can be observed. Of course, it depends on a lot of variables: design, implementation. How strong is your core business? If you're doing already a $400, $500 million business, 15, 20% is probably too high. Yeah. So yeah, of course, it depends on the size of the business as well. But coming to that, when now we have shown that there is some serious money, there's a serious uplift in overall business performance that we've observed. Let's spend a couple of minutes on focusing on the relationship between the gamers and developers, because one of the interesting points, Priya, you brought out was players were spending more. Now that could be a function of either a better pricing, better product, or better access, but it could also be a function of better engagement of players within the games themselves. So Ranbeer, what are your thoughts on some of the implementation strategies that you have adopted on web shops as to how you have been able to engage those users better, purely from an engagement standpoint?
I think not just web shop actually, so probably web shop. With web shop, something that we have tried to do is, we call it a personalization of, what we are giving to the users. So we know, what user is playing, and we kind of have all the data with us, wherein we see, this guy is maybe, buying something which he wants to play, and maybe not everybody else or other players are doing the same. So that personalization aspect plays a very important role for us, which we are doing through our web shop, which we are working on. And we know that, in gaming, we call it whales at times, we call whales as well. And we also see players where we want to bring them back to our game, or we want to bring them or engage more into our game. And how do we do that? So that's where I think the data pipeline also plays a very important role. And through web shop, what we have done is we have created a strong, backend wherein we are tracking what users are, which is kind of connected to our game itself. So where we are tracking on how players are using our game and how players are playing a particular section of the game, or maybe a particular hero is more famous for them. So we are kind of tracking those data and then converting those into what they want to play and how they want to engage. So we, like initially you mentioned, right, it's not just in our control nowadays, right? We can create a good content, but eventually we have to, adapt ourselves how players are seeing that game as well, right? And these mediums are kind of helping us to get benefited from that, or to leverage that, and then make the best use case for ourselves in terms of, monetizing it, or in terms of getting more retention. Through webshop, literally say that we are seeing, let's say, up to 30% of repeat purchases being made. And in a way, it's all because of the personalization that we have done, because, it might happen that what I'm seeing when I go to the web shop, what I'm seeing, maybe Pranab might not see the same thing when he goes to my web shop. So it's all about data nowadays, and how we are able to leverage that data, and how we are able to give more to our players in a way of getting them more engaged to our game, and in a way of like, do more purchases so that we make money in a way.
Pranab, same question, but for a global audience, because you know so many people, and I'm all about extracting secrets here. So same question.
No, I think it's a great segue also. Couple of things. See, from a data point of view, some data. So I'll also do a plug now. Okay, I'm a marketer as well. So I'll plug. I have a web shop talk tomorrow scheduled, and I'll be sharing a lot of case studies from our international. So you'll get some numbers, but let me give you some taste of flavor of it. One of the top mobile game developers in the world, 50% of their revenue is through their own direct-to-consumer web shops. 50%. You have to understand, what does a web shop, like, what does it mean to your impact to your revenue? You're keeping through a web shop or through a direct-to-consumer. Like, see, web shop is one tool. As I said, there are multiple tools. There's a launcher. We have direct payment integration, API integration into your game if you want, so on and so forth. But through this, you keep almost 90% of your revenue, as against what 70% average when you do it through a store. So that's first impact point. As I said, we drive billions and billions of dollars in revenue for games companies annually, right? And this is at least top 50 out of the top 100 mobile games companies work with us, right? Now, from a perspective of what it does, right, and from how I see this, I'll correlate this back to 2 points. One, when I was back running MMORPGs, and I did about 3 MMORPGs. This is Ragnarok. We did Ben 10 Omniverse. We did a couple of more, and there, the first thing was that, be it World of Warcraft, the reason why World of Warcraft is still around is because they have deep data and understanding about the consumer. The consumer used to come to their website, their game, transact on that game, pay, whatever, right? That is rich data. As Ranbeer is talking about it, you get more and more rich data. You're not looking at a black box. You're being able to then customize your game, run your live ops better. Your game becomes longer, survives a lot more. Obviously, you're making more money, so you can invest more money into it as well. I think direct-to-consumer is a powerful way for you to develop a very deep relationship with your player, and that then means everything, right? Every other industry has a direct relationship with their consumer. Nobody is going through an intermediary, right? Even if there is an intermediary, there is at least not a black box, right? There's a distributor, but that distributor can't stop the information to coming back to the developer or to the consumer. So I think from my perspective, I was surprised. And I can tell you guys that before I knew Xsolla, I had run gaming companies, invested in them, lost money, we gained money, right? I had no idea that there is this ecosystem of going direct to consumer. And I'll openly claim this sitting here, right? And so I think we have to learn a lot from what Xsolla has been able to do for the rest of the world, and what it is doing for the developer ecosystem. And it's been doing it for the last 19 years, by the way. Not now. It's not a company that started now. So that's that. I hope it answers your question. If I've left anything, I'll make more comments.
I'm pretty sure there is a lot more to learn from his session tomorrow. Yeah. Right. I'm also plugging in here. So interesting. So coming on to the overall platforms as an ecosystem model for games, there are multiple levers that we've already established. One of those levers is, of course, game commerce. We did touch upon it early on in our conversation, but very quick closing remarks on, starting with you, Namrata, on how do you see game commerce sort of shaping up in India today? What are sort of the things that ONDC is doing to enable seamless integration of the tech platform for the game developers and publishers? And I'm very happy to say that we announced a partnership with Nazara and ONDC today. So quite excited about that partnership. So yeah, Namrata.
Okay, I'm going to say a lot of things which are very different from what has been said. Is that okay? Is that allowed? Okay, unlike the platform world, which is everybody is owning their own universes, and you all are masters of your own universes, Nazara, everybody. The attempt here is to bring buyers on one side, sellers on another, payment gateways in the middle, logistics providers somewhere in the middle. Just unbundle the whole thing in terms of what you build, right? And whatever you're good at, you focus on it. Having said that, when we are saying we are launching, we are integrating G-commerce or gaming commerce with Nazara, ONDC is doing that with Nazara, it's a very simple thing. Nazara is a gaming company which makes really good games. And within that game, now they've enabled physical retail. They will also enable services. They will also enable gift cards. They will also enable subscription. They will also have non-linear content feeds over a period of time, right? And this is, over a period of time, becomes an SDK that you can put into any kind of commerce universe that exists out there. So tomorrow Nazara decides, I have a Nazara SDK which is compliant with this protocol and not a product and a platform called ONDC, which is commerce enablement. They put it in a Paytm. They put it in a Ola, they put it in a Mappers, which is Map My India, they put it in a Google Maps, they put it in a in any kind of surface that exists as part of buying universe of ONDC compliance, right? So you don't have to really spend money in CAC, which is customer acquisition cost. You have access to 200 million odd buyers on day zero of being a developer or an IP creator. And the beauty of being a gamer slash IP creator slash developer in this country, we don't know how to unlock value of rights just yet. So if you are starting out today, or if you're somebody who's not 20 years in the business, and maybe this is your first year, or this is year zero, you can actually rewrite the playbook. Because you have access to something called digital public goods, which this entire generation of ours didn't have. It took us 20 years to build our businesses, you can do this in 2. And that's the beauty of where we are sitting. As ecosystem players, people who are so-called veterans, I think if that is the take forward we can give you, that, okay, what we did in 20, maybe you can do it in 2, because you have so much more access and resources and digital public goods, and somebody like Nazara wanting to do this as a SDK for the entire industry. Please, I mean, that's a massive opportunity to unlock, and you can just do what you're good at. Everything else gets done for you as part of the network and the ecosystem itself.
In a way, we learned it the hard way. So it's now up to you guys to how to do it in a better way.
It's funny, but Vijay, closing remarks before I sort of sum it up. Closing remarks from your end as to why people should see game commerce as a very pivotal pillar.
Yeah, so how I see it, you know, when there is so many players, the gamers, and when there are so much happenings, you know, in the gaming world, how I see it, like, you know, from a business point of view, is that the global brands also can't keep away from this ecosystem. And the beauty of this particular emerging vertical is that every company has its own version. And for me, like, the gaming is very, very sophisticated platform, and the commerce itself is a complicated platform. And when we are seeing as an embedded version of, let's say, a D2C into a gaming virtual world, it has to be very seamless. It has to be very super immersive. And for me, like, all the traditional kind of the ad format that is live on the gaming is, for me, like, it is being imported from an app economy. It is not created for the games. So it is very, very intrusive in the nature at present. For me, like, it should be a user-initiated commerce, right? And the next thing is that in a process of enabling the commerce, we should always keeping the gamer's experience in the center. And this is what the key focus of us also in the Trophee. And in a journey, like, we don't want the gamers to leave the game in any way. And this is so it is also adding a value, because beside uplifting the revenue, we are also uplifting the other key metrics like play time, session time, and the engagement and so on. So I think when we are talking about enabling commerce, keeping gamers' experience in the center is super important, because this is what the game developer, the brands, and everybody is betting on. So this is, I see that when the gaming commerce will come and when it will same to the next phase, it will definitely add a tremendous value to the gamers, because now they can see a transition from buying a virtual item to a real world items as well. And I obviously, as a company, like, we are super, super excited in shaping up.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for all your comments. Just to summarize, games as a platform, we believe, is something which is a very complex, diverse array, which has multiple pillars. Some pillars could be user-generated content, game commerce, in-app activities, events, coupons, vouchers, a number of different things that you can think of. In addition to including newer ways to distribute content and monetize players like Webshops and establishing direct-to-consumer relationships. But to sum it up, if you are still finding it difficult to contemplate, I would ask you to go to YouTube and see all the features that you see on YouTube. You can create a video, you can launch, which is making it an UGC platform. You can buy things from YouTube. You can go to other content on YouTube. You can discover content on YouTube. You can do a bunch of different things on YouTube, including playing games. So essentially, Instagram, how many D2C brands have been sort of brought from Instagram? So these are essentially platform businesses. Content creators are now thinking themselves as not only just content creators, but how do we engage with users across various distribution platforms, across various monetization models, across various consumer content formats. We've also learned the kind of increase in revenues and increase in engagement and attention that it eventually would drive. For a market like India, that's something which is amazing, because while in-app purchases are picking up, as we can see from broader macroeconomics and numbers as well, retail is already an established industry. If somehow games and game publishers can tap into the retail ecosystem, there's nothing like it. The boost in revenues could be much more significant than the boost in IAPs, specifically from emerging markets, primarily in India. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, the audience, for coming here and listening to us. Hope you have a good IGDC, and hope we catch you around.